Rangers lose again to the Colorado Avalanche, this time by a score of 4-2. And the Rangers are on a little bit of a slide. They've lost 3 of their last 4 games, 2 of those to Colorado. And this one was definitely a much better performance than the last time where they lost 7-3 to the Avalanche. This was definitely a more competitive game, but Colorado had the lead the whole way, and the Rangers were in comeback mode. And the Rangers battled. They came very close to tying it up late, but Colorado was absolutely the better team. And, that's something I'm noticing with the Rangers is that, and there's nothing wrong with this. And there's probably, it's not 100% true, but it just seems like the Rangers beat the teams that they are better than when you look at it, and they lose to the teams that are better than them. The Colorados of the world. I know they did split with Toronto, but Igor had a, performance of, for the ages. Calgary, they got beaten pretty good by twice. Washington was opening night, but maybe we can, I wouldn't be shocked if when it's all said and done, the Capitals are better. Again, no shame in that, but I think that we're just finding that the Rangers, usually the work ethic is typically there. We've seen some slow starts every now and then. This one was kind of another game where in some ways the Rangers did improve as the game progressed. So again, not an amazing first period. And you want to clean up on that, but not a game in which you should be ashamed of. But still some troubling themes. I still think that the forward lines need to be juggled in some way. And look, the solution is difficult. I admit that. I'm not sure what the exact answer is, but I still feel like there's got to be something better than this. And again, Alexander Georgiev in net and was mostly good. We'll talk about some of the goals, but I thought, Georgiev he gave the Rangers a chance to win. We will see what happens for tomorrow's game against the Coyotes. Will it be Georgiev for a back-to-back? Will they go to Kincaid? Is Shesterkin somehow going to be available? My guess is that it would be Georgiev or Kincaid. I still feel like Shesterkin isn't quite ready. So I am interested, though, in seeing where they go with this. Will they give Kincaid the start against, a league worst Coyote team? Or do they feel like, well, maybe that's risky? We don't want to give up, points that we would normally get with, let's say, Georgiev. So we'll see what happens there. But Georgiev was, as I expected, was in net against the Avalanche. Also, Nils Lundkvist still out with a non-COVID illness. And I am just not a big fan of Libor Hájek. Like I said last episode, you understand that it's not easy. He basically sat at about, 25 games. We're basically talking about a couple of months where he was just a healthy scratch. He did get a conditioning stint, I think, with Hartford at one point, but still just couldn't be easy. But I don't know. It kind of shows you that Nils Lundkvist, who I think, most Ranger fans would say you're excited about what he can do in the future, but also acknowledging that he hasn't made much of an impact. I think his confidence has grown recently, so it's a little bit unfortunate that he's been out because I think he's been better lately. But still, I think Hájek is definitely worse. I mean, that Nemeth-Hájek pair is disastrous, basically on Nemeth-Tenorti levels. It's the Rangers' depth defense is an issue when you consider all of those players that I mentioned. And maybe it is worth giving Zach Jones, for example, someone like Zach Jones, a look. But what might make more sense is maybe trading for a veteran defenseman, depending on where the Rangers are at, standings-wise, when the trade deadline comes. That might be more logical. Who knows? Maybe I would just be curious to see someone like a Zach Jones maybe get an opportunity. But the problem is Patrick Nemeth is kind of locked into that third pair spot. For better or worse, it would take a lot, I think, for him to lose that grip on the third defensive pairing spot. But speaking of Nemeth, facing his former team in the Colorado Avalanche, he takes a penalty at 8:42. sort of a Nemeth Hayek fuck up, but Nemeth takes the penalty. Rangers kill that off, and the penalty kill had been very good, but against Colorado, eventually it would come back to bite later in the period. But even before that, Colorado scores. Mikko Rantanen makes it 1-0 Colorado, and this is a play where Philip Hedl turns the puck over in the offensive zone. That line, it just isn't. It's more of a liability. Philip Hedl, who I'm growing more and more sort of just disappointed with. I really feel like the talent and skill set is there. I don't know if it's going to work out. I really don't. I fear like a change needs to be made of some sort. I don't know what that is. Maybe he's more suited for the wing, but then you kind of have a hole at the center position. So there's him. And then Alexis Lafreniere basically, I don't know what he was even doing. McKinnon just blew by him and was able to pass it to Rantanen alone in front. So Lafreniere is a guy who, I'm not happy with what I see from him. And then in front you had Hayek and Nemeth. That's a bad situation when you have the Hedl line with that third defensive pair together. That's major problems, and it was. Colorado took advantage of it. Then a very dumb penalty by Kevin Rooney. Kevin Rooney takes a penalty with a little more than 2 minutes left in the period, and what hurt in this game was in both instances, Colorado scored late period goals. This would be a goal by Val Nichushkin. Oh, no, sorry. Not Nichushkin. This is a Cale Makar. Cale Makar scores a power play goal. And this goal, Georgiev, he might have been screened. I guess you could give criticism if you want to Georgiev in this goal. But again, I think that's nitpicking just a little bit. But Makar makes it 2-0. And you really wanted to have that be 1-0 going into the second. So Colorado, actually, come to think of it, in all 3 periods, and the Rangers have been doing better at that this year. That was a problem with like the David Quinn Rangers, is that they would give up those really back-breaking goals, and it kind of sunk them. They had because it happened tonight, it made me realize that hasn't happened a whole lot this season. They've been better at that, but tonight it wasn't good. And Kevin Rooney just cannot take that penalty. It was a bad penalty, point blank. Then a failed power play for the Rangers as Andrei Burakovsky took a penalty, but Rangers can't get anything going there. And even before the power play ended, Dryden Hunt was called for an interference penalty, that was a bad call. Did not agree with that Dryden Hunt interference call. Nothing comes of it. Former Ranger Jack Johnson, then he takes a penalty, but the Rangers don't score on that. And then it's interesting. Then there's a fight between Curtis McDermott and Ryan Reeves. And McDermott got the better of Reeves, but the Rangers respond right after that fight as Ryan Strome scores from, who would you guess? Yep, you got it. Adam Fox and Artemi Panarin. That's what it is. And that, I would even say, including Strome, that threesome has kind of been 5-on-5 wise. I mean, let's forget about the power play for a second. We know they get points on the power play. 5-on-5, that's kind of the best source. Is Adam Fox creating with Panarin, and Strome is usually involved in that as well. That's kind of been their best chance because the 5-on-5 scoring has really dried up. It's not great. So that makes it 2-1. And then right after that, Mika Zibanejad has a mini breakaway. And not only does he not score, but then he takes a pretty lazy penalty and he holds former Ranger, like I just said, Jack Johnson. You just can't do that. Mika Zibanejad, it's just been a continual disappointment for him. It's a problem. I mean, again, this guy is under, next year, not even this year, next season is where that, I believe it was an 8-year extension. I don't know. That is going to be by the end of that contract, I don't see how that wouldn't be a problem. Not to say that he won't turn it around. He is extremely streaky, but I miss the Mika Zibanejad of old. And I'm not even talking about, he was out of his mind before, COVID happened. I'm not even talking about that. That's unrealistic. But even the Mika Zibanejad from the views previous to that, just something is so off with him. And I don't know what it is, but it is a major, major problem. So Zibanejad, luckily, the Rangers are able to kill off the penalty. But at the end of the period, it is a goal for Colorado. It is Val Nichushkin scoring a goal with 1:15 left in the period. And I had a bad feeling. Colorado was starting to gain momentum, and they make it 3-1. So at that point, I'm thinking, this is going to be tough. This is going to be really tough for the Rangers to come back. And even tougher when Kaapo Kakko takes a slashing penalty. It's been tough for Kakko. Again, he was really contributing with Panarin and Strome, not so much with Zibanejad and Kreider. It's just, that's a line that really hasn't generated a whole lot of offense 5-on-5. But the Rangers, the penalty kill does the job. Then Libor Hagg with a delay game penalty. And this is with 8 minutes left, further proving like this guy needs to be taken out of the lineup. I mean, I have a feeling, if I had to guess, he'll probably be back in tomorrow unless Lundqvist makes, a good recovery in terms of whatever sickness he has. But I'm sure if Lundqvist is good to go, they will definitely get him in as soon as they can because they can't like what they see from Hayek. And what happens is Colorado appeared to score a goal, but it's a good job by Gerard Gallant as he challenges it because at that point, what do you have to lose? It's basically the game at that point, and the challenge is successful. There was a goalie interference penalty, but goalie interference, so no goal. Keeps the Rangers alive, and they actually would come close. As Julian Gauthier, with about 2 minutes left on a 6-on-5, Rangers with the goalie scores. Barclay Goodrow wins the faceoff, then Dryden Hunt takes a shot, and Gauthier gets a backhand goal and makes it 3-2. And then the Rangers would have a lot of chances to tie it up, mainly Chris Kreider. Chris Kreider was robbed by Darcy Kemper, the Colorado goaltender, twice. And that hurt. I mean, because it was a game in which Colorado deserved to win, but the Rangers, and that's kind of been the thing with the Rangers this year, is that they find ways, to hang around. Whereas, again, like previous to Gallant, I think a lot of these games, like this game, would have absolutely gotten completely out of hand, but they stick with it. And give them credit for that. But they don't score. And then eventually what happens is there's a face-off at center ice, and they actually bring Georgiev back in for that situation. There's about 40 seconds left. But what happens is, and I'm going to be hard on Zibanejad, even though I think it probably wasn't just his fault, but Zibanejad loses the face-off, or at the very least, it needed to be, someone needed to battle and get that puck. But with Mika Zibanejad, you kind of just know that he's not going to do that. He's not going to go to the dirty areas. He's not going to do what is necessary. He just seems weak right now. And so what happens is Nichushkin ends up with the puck, moves in all alone. And this is where Georgiev he should have either maybe committed to getting the puck before Nichushkin got there or just went back. He was kind of caught in no man's land, and Nichushkin scores his second goal of the game. And that's tough. You don't want to give up a non-empty net goal, in a one-goal game with 30, 40 seconds left. But that happens. Colorado scores, and they win the game 4-2. It's going to be important for the Rangers to take care of business against the Coyotes. I look at that game, you want to win that game. And then if you can somehow beat Vegas, who's playing really well right now, then all of a sudden you can turn this tide very quickly. You don't want this to snowball. And you definitely won't lose the Coyotes. Then it becomes a major problem. And if we lose the Coyotes, then I'll be on here and it'll be a much different tone. But if you somehow win that game and then you somehow beat Vegas, then you've turned it very quickly. And you could really chalk it up to, it was mainly a Colorado issue. Fine, fair. But let's see what happens. So now the Rangers go from Colorado to Arizona in a game in which they really should win. And if they don't, then it's a problem.